The presentation I'm going to show you guys tonight is primarily the same one that I showed your kids. I am using a slightly different one only because it goes into a little bit more detail for you guys as far as laws, things to look out for, and stuff like that. So I'm going to head into it. Challenges facing our kids today: bullying and cyberbullying. Most of you out there, I think, are with me where we didn't have one of these growing up. Not just because we didn't have one, there was no such thing, they didn't exist, and we were probably better off for it. You know, one of the things I do tell the kids is I wouldn't trade places with them for anything. I do not look back at my childhood and wish I had this. I'd have been in probably just as much, if not more trouble, as they're getting themselves into had I had access to this when I was growing up. But we didn't have to deal with this. There was no such thing, it didn't exist. Or this. You know, this was unheard of or even unthought of back in the day. And you guys know, I won't get into too much detail, but there was an incident here at Davison High School last year involving this, which is kind of why we partnered up with Davison High School to come in. We actually start now in the 7th grade. Last year we came in and did 7th grade. This year we're back in doing the 7th graders and coming in here and doing the high school. Kind of trying to teach them the dangers, the laws, the do's, the don'ts, and things like that so that they can keep themselves out of trouble. Why this is important, and I appreciate for those of you who are here, is you need to know what's going on too. You need to know what your kids are being told, because I'm sure they don't all come home and tell you, hey, we learned that this is wrong, but I did it anyway. They're not coming home and telling you that they knew better, right? It's always an excuse. I know I have a 13-year-old. She's in the middle school right now, and I know how it goes. Bullying defined. It's habitual cruelty, overbearing behavior towards someone, usually smaller, weaker person, forcing their way on them. One thing that I do kind of want to clarify with everyone is every time a kid is picked on or treated mean doesn't necessarily mean it's bullying. I mean, we were all been in school before. We do stupid things sometimes as kids. We think we're being funny. We get in trouble for it. We never do it again. Doing something to a kid, you know, I use the example, if I took her purse, tossed it down the hallway, didn't do it yesterday, don't do it next week, never did it before, never do it again. I didn't bully her. Now, if today I threw a purse down the hallway, tomorrow I flick her glasses off her head, next week I trip her when she's going, obviously now we can see that that's bullying, right? Repetitive action, something that is targeted against an individual. Because I've seen kids and heard kids before I get calls, so-and-so called me a name. Did he ever do it before? No. Did he ever do it again? No, but he's bullying me. Now, there's consequences for actions. Shouldn't have done it. It's wrong. But that's not bullying. Let's not escalate the problem by calling everything bullying. It just cheapens and demeans when bullying really is going on. Here's another thing. I put it in a different format, but I explained to the kids. Stalking. Read the definition there. You guys are adults. I'm not going to read to you. Nobody likes that. Very similar. This is actually one of the laws we use to prosecute bullying. Stalking, by definition, and I'll simplify it for you, is 2 or more unwanted contacts after being asked to stop. I'm pretty sure when I tossed her bag down the hallway, hey, knock it off. The next day when I flicked her glasses off her head, she probably told me to stop again, didn't she? So now when I tripped her when she's going down the hallway, by definition, I'm stalking her. I'm committing a crime. This is what your kids don't seem to understand, is bullying is not just bullying, you get in trouble in school. They can get prosecuted criminally for that. Stalking is a misdemeanor, a 1 year. I've actually, unfortunately, I'm not happy to have to admit it, but when I did work the road, especially in Lapeer County, they didn't mess around. I had several kids charged with this. It's not the route we want to go, but there comes a point where the schools can't handle it anymore. Parents aren't able to handle it. It keeps going. Well, if you're not going to do anything about it, then I will. It's not, obviously, especially in today, we have better things to do than deal with kids who can't keep their hands off one another and be nice to one another. You don't want the kids involved in the court system over something that should have been taken care of at home or in the schools. Sometimes I'm not blaming the parents. These kids just don't get it, or they don't think it's going to happen to them. That's not really going to happen. That's kind of what I'm here to tell them. Yeah, it can, and I've done it personally myself. What are we doing to protect our kids? Not really a whole lot, some of us. Me, until I really took this position and realized all this stuff that's going on, I didn't know a whole lot about it or realize a whole lot about it either. This is another law. And I do present this to the kids also. Malicious use of a service provider. Service provider, guys, is the internet. As far as this law is concerned, anything they're doing online there, malicious use of it, is a 6-month misdemeanor. How simple it is to terrorize, frighten, intimidate, threaten, harass, molest, or simply annoy another person. Could bullying fall into that? These kids can be charged with crimes, is what they have to realize. And we didn't used to have to do it. When we were growing up, it was usually handled in school, at home, some other means. By the time, if law enforcement has to get involved, we're past that coddling phase. It's now or never. We've got to send the message, and we kind of just go direct with one of these laws. Are we trying to turn these kids into criminals? No, but at some point, the message has to be sent. We need to inform our kids that this is what can happen to them so they can no longer use that excuse. Well, I didn't know. Yeah, you did. I've actually been contacted by the prosecutor's offices. They know we do this presentation. Hey, I got this incident. Did you go to that school? Yeah. Contact the school. Was so-and-so in that presentation? Yeah. So they knew better. All deals are off the table. We're not playing that I didn't know. Because the state police specifically told them what the laws and the penalties were. Am I broken? Oh, no. Big myth, it doesn't happen at my school. Everybody wants to believe that. I understand that. The fact is that's just false. Statistically speaking, by studies done, by the time a kid is the age of 12, they've been involved in bullying. They've either been the bully, they've been bullied, or they've at least witnessed it. That's a pretty sad statistic, really, when you think they're not even 12 years old yet and they're having to deal with stuff like this. One of the other things I ask the kids, I'll ask you guys. You can read it up here. Basically, it's saying you're out somewhere, you see bullying going on, you see somebody getting messed on. You don't know the people. You don't know the one doing the messing around. You don't know the person getting picked on. Is that any of your business? Who thinks it is? Who thinks it is your business? Who thinks it's not your business? Who's on the fence? I'm not going to signal anybody out, but they're sitting up front here. But that's a fair, a lot of the kids, who doesn't know? And some of the kids will raise their hand. And then I ask, do you have a little brother or sister? Yeah. If that's your little brother or sister, would it be your business? Well, yeah. Shouldn't it be anyway? That's a lot of the thing, too. These kids see what's going on, and they got this mentality. I'm not a tattletale. Really? There's a difference between tattletaling and doing the right thing, right? I was growing up. I have a little sister. To be honest, I didn't like her much when we were growing up. But nobody was going to do that to her, right? That just wasn't allowed. Now, the different, Mom, Steve ate the last cookie. That's tattletaling, right? It's of no consequence. It was for no other reason than to get me in trouble for nothing. Or, Mom, Steve's kicking the dog in the head. Is that tattletaling? No, something wrong is being done, right? Something that needs a corrective action. It's obviously to the extreme, but that's what these kids, and it doesn't mean, I'm not telling kids to go get involved. Oh, go break up that fight. Walking by one of the instructors, hey, somebody should check out what's going on over there. It's that simple. Bring it to the attention of the administrators. Because if it was you, the one being picked on, you'd want somebody to do that for you, wouldn't you? All of them agree with that. The bullies are picking on the weak individual that can't or won't stand up for themselves. Sometimes we just need to help each other out a little bit. We used to, when most of us were growing up, even in the neighborhoods, we used to. Somewhere along the line, that got lost. Different kinds of bullying. Obviously, we know what physical and verbal bullying are. Psychological, I always ask the kids, any of you guys know what that is? Who can tell me what psychological bullying is? If no one raises a hand, I'm going to treat you like the kids, I'm just going to pick on you. You're drawing my attention right now, so give it a shot. What's psychological bullying? It's exactly what it is. See, don't be so shy. You knew the answer. It's messing with their head, right? Rumors, isolation, ignoring. Rumors. Are rumors generally true? No. But we all spread them anyway, don't we? Yeah, everyone in this room has probably spread a rumor at some point in time, whether you believed you were doing it or not. If you're telling a story to someone else that someone else told you, and you don't know if it's true or not, but you're telling it anyway, you're spreading a rumor. These kids, though, do it on purpose. They'll start a rumor, and then when confronted, I didn't say anything to them, I didn't touch them, so you can't get me in trouble for anything. No, but you started this rumor that has devastated this child's life. And for what? The ignoring. Are you going to be best friends with everybody? No, let's be honest. I'm not an advocate of saying, you have to be friends with this person and that person. But do we have to be rude to people? I mean, that's just common manners that we need to grow up with, right? There's going to be people that we work with, that we live by, not you guys, that we don't like, right? These are my neighbors over here, so. But, we're not going to like everybody, but we should respect everybody, right? That's the point I try to get across to these kids. Then we get into the cyberbullying, which we didn't have to deal with. When we were in school, most of us, a few of you might not, that might not apply to, but most of us when we were in school, bullies had to confront, right? They had to be confrontational. They had to do it in front of everybody. They had to do it to your face. It was generally at school, maybe on the way to school, maybe on the way home from school. But when you got home, you were safe, right? It was over. Even kids who got bullied, when they got home, it was done for the day. Because we didn't have cell phones, right? A bully didn't call the house because who answered the phone? Mom or dad answered the phone, right? You had one phone in the kitchen, big long cord on it, rotary dial. You weren't friends with anybody that had too many nines or zeros in their number because it just took too long to call them? You said, no, I'm not doing that. I wish I was making that up, but we all know I'm not, right? But it was just different. Nowadays, the kids got their own phones. People are blowing them up 4, 5, 6 o'clock in the morning, noon. It just never stops for these poor kids. It's just a different world. Bullies now are bigger cowards than they ever were because they hide behind a computer screen to do it. That's what these kids don't understand. It doesn't make you tough. It doesn't make you cool when somebody posts something nasty about somebody and you even just hit that like button. Technically, you're bully. A lot of kids don't realize that. They don't think of it that way. Oh, I was just funning them. I was just messing around. It was just supposed to be a joke. Well, if it was happening to you, would it be as funny? But all the kids today, it's more cliquey than it ever was. It was with us, too. I mean, we all had our groups, but it was different. This stuff is generally meant to be noticed by other people. It's meant to be witnessed. And the kids who don't say anything or play into it, hitting that like button or laughing along with it, they're adding to the problem because bullies want the attention, right, generally. Whether it's online and they want 1 million likes on this page or they want a bunch of comments supporting their nastiness or whatever. That's all I'm encouraging the kid. If you don't want to confront it, just leave it alone. Don't acknowledge it. Don't play into it. Don't encourage it. Again, it's everywhere they go. I know it's a really old cell phone, but stock photo. It's everywhere. These kids can't escape it now. And it is up to us as the parents. We should be monitoring our kids' stuff, their phones, their computers, their online accounts. All the different social media apps. Anybody ever heard of this one, Kik, K-I-K? That one in particular, I'll give you a little useful information. If your kids are using that, get them off it. It's probably the most sexually abused social media app on the market right now. And they have texting, they have Instagram, they have 10 other apps. Why do they need so many different apps? They all do the same thing. That's what I don't understand. The more apps, most of these apps were created to do bad stuff. Kik is one of them. I'll get off that topic right now, but if you see that, that's probably not a good thing. The Instagram, the Snapchat, real big. Lots of kids get in trouble with Snapchat, right? Because the thought is when they start out, it's there for 10 seconds, then it's gone. Well, wrong. Someone can still screenshot it. And Snapchat, what people don't realize, that 622-page user agreement that everybody clicks accept to, but nobody actually reads it, you've agreed to let Snapchat hold on to all of everything you've done for at least 90 days. So it's not gone. It became real popular on the premise of, 10 seconds, or I can set it for 3 seconds, and then it's gone. Nothing has ever gone online. We all know that, right? We might. The kids should know that. But once you post it online, it's never gone. It never disappears. The average American teenager is on at least 5 social media apps. That's low by today's standard. That's probably increased up to 7 or 8 by now. Profile of a bully, same way it's always been. Physically aggressive, violent, easily angered, impulsive. Sometimes what you need to look at, though, is the bully became one because they've been bullied themselves. That's why we need to talk to these kids, first and foremost, to find out if that's part of the problem. Sometimes it's a defense mechanism where they're doing it, learned behavior, or kind of defending themselves against other bullies. They prey on those they feel are weaker, have a strong need to dominate others, higher likelihood to dislike or do poorly in school, more likely to fight, drink, and smoke than their peers. Bullies want you to think they're strong individuals, right? Is that really true? Bullies are the weak ones. I mean, think of how sad it really is. If you got to make fun of or put somebody else down to make yourself feel better, how bad is that on you? We've all had that friend growing up, right? You're at the bar, ladies, you meet a group of guys, you meet a group of ladies, and you got that one friend putting everybody else down to try to make themselves look better. It usually gets caught on to, though, doesn't it? It's the same thing. Long-term effects. There have been a bunch of studies done on this stuff here. 60% of those characterized as a bully between grades 6 and 9 had at least one criminal conviction before they reached age 24. This is why bullying is such a big issue and such a hot issue, because it doesn't stop here with the bullying. We're creating lifelong criminals, basically, and statistics will back that up. Bullies now, more than likely, will end up in jail before they're age 24. They're also more likely to live in your basement when they're 40. True story. In my high school, bully. I played football with him, good football player. Bully. Didn't understand it either. I mean, the kid had everything that he wanted, just a bully. And I tell this story to some of the kids. Do you know where he is now? He was a grade above me, so he's 40. He's in his 40s. He lives in his mother's house, never moved out. In and out of jobs, in and out of jail. He peaked in high school. That's what kids don't understand. I mean, where is he now? Yeah, he was real. Everybody feared him in high school. Nobody fears him now. Who wants to be there? I ask kids, who wants to live in your parents' house when you're 40? No one. Who wants to live there now? No one. Yeah, they maintain their behaviors throughout life. It's a learned behavior, and then they can't get out of it. Risks, discipline. Criminal prosecution and jail, that's the big one. That should be enough to stop some of this stuff, but it's not. Because I don't think kids understand that it's real, that it can really happen. Anybody have any questions about any of that? Bullying, what it is, what it isn't, cycles, all that kind of stuff? You're either really bored or I was that good. I'll go with I was that good. Okay, collision course, the impact technology has on you. I asked the kids this. Raise your hand. What's this picture of? You didn't raise your hand. Would you like to try again? What is it? Who is that? What do you think? That would be the assumption, right? What year was that? All right. I'd give you a prize if you were in high school. I will anyway. All right, 1969, right? Anybody know what year the first recorded airplane flight was? Ooh, getting tricky. Anybody come close? No. Do you know? What is it? 1903. Think about it. A wooden airplane, basically, with paper wings. You know, it took them a long time, lots of attempts. I mean, we all know a little bit of the history of it, right? They finally got an airplane on. Just over 60 years later, we went from barely getting an airplane off the ground to building a spacecraft that we put people in, launched it off Earth, landed it on the rock called the moon. People got out of it, did a bunch of research, collected stuff, got back in it, and flew it back to Earth. That's a big advancement, really, in a short amount of time, isn't it? I mean, when you really put it in a perspective like that, that's a lot. Were there computers in 1969? They were about the size of a classroom, you know, and all they were basically was data processors. You know, this does more than a 1969 computer probably did. When you look at the technology that we have in a cell phone nowadays, adjusting for the times, that's the same amount of technology it took to put a man on the moon in 1969. You're holding it in your hand every day. And what did we do as adults when all this technology came out? Well, when our kids turned 16, did we just give them the keys and go, here you go, you're 16, here's your car? What do they have to do? Driver's ed, then they got to drive with mom and dad for a year just about, can't have passengers, can't do this. But with the internet, we just said, it's limitless, here you go. Most of you, be honest, and I know, if I give you a motorcycle and tell you it does 200 miles an hour, what are you going to do? You're going to do 200 miles, you're going to see if it does 200 miles an hour, right? I asked that to the kids, they all say the same thing. Well, what did we tell them with this? Here, you can literally do anything you want on it. They're going to try, and they are. Has anyone finished the internet yet? It's not even possible, exactly, but they're trying like, you know what, aren't they? It's just not fair what we've done to them. We've put them in this situation. We're giving our kids cell phones at 7, 8, 9 years old. What does a 7-year-old need a cell phone for? They don't. Or if you're going to give them a cell phone, give them the old flip phone. That's not cool, right? They'd only use that for an emergency. Because who's on these websites? This is, I talked to them about this, but you guys really need to understand this too. Everybody's on these websites. It's not just their friends. We've got the good people and we've got the bad people. I talked to them and very frankly, and I'll talk to you the same way. Do you know how many pedophiles and sexual predators are online these days? How many identity thieves? I mean, just people out there with no other job other than to be online and looking to do you harm. It's enormous. You know, another thing I ask kids, and I think Facebook, I don't know, do we all still use Facebook? Or is that outdated even for us? I don't know. I'm not a big social media person. But I talked to the kids about it. You know, how many Facebook friends do you have? I was in a 4th grade class once. I said, raise your hand if you have 100 friends. Keep it up. You know, 200. This girl, I got 600 and something. You don't know 600 people. You're in 4th grade. Statistically speaking, when you have people on your social, even for adults, that you don't really know, statistically speaking, one of them is a sexual predator. That's a fact. Or, I'd like to tell this to the kids too, an undercover state police or FBI officer. We have fake accounts out there on Instagram, Twitter, all of the popular ones. And it's not to get the kids in trouble, it's to pose as them to try to catch these people who are targeting our children. It's more than likely that one of our cyber team members is friends with one of your kids on one of these social media sites and they have no clue. Because we get a friend request or a whatever request from, hey, look, it's my sister's cousin's dog's brother's friend. Okay. Because it is. It's like a status symbol to say I have, oh, look at all the friends I have. Look at all the followers I have. It's that's how they get their self-worth. I am so popular, I'm so cool, I got all these followers. And kids put anything and everything online these days, don't they? We've all seen stuff. If you ever open up a Facebook feed or the Twitter or the Instagram or whatnot, I mean, let's be honest, I have no desire nor need to know what you had for dinner tonight. But I see pictures of food on a regular basis. Our young girls are probably the worst. They're, so-and-so's all up in my business. And, well, you put it all over the internet, and then you act surprised when people know your business. What are we thinking? Adults, we do it too. What do we do? Oh, look what my husband got me. Bought me this brand new big screen TV, new gaming system, new whatever. 2 weeks later, now my husband's taking me to Florida for 2 weeks. See you guys. We'll just tell the whole world. Come break into my house. I got a bunch of new stuff and nobody's going to be there. But we don't think about it like that. But that's what we do. It's that instant gratification that we get with social media and with the internet these days that these kids just have got absorbed in, and it's what's getting themselves into trouble. None of these sites are private. They all have privacy settings, right? I mean, you can set who can see this, who can view that. Does that really work? It'll keep the honest. That's about what it is. I tell the kids, not me, I'm not that technologically advanced, but if I had cause, I had any of your first and last name, I'd call my computer people. They'd probably be hacked into all your social media accounts before I hung up the phone, talking to all your friends as if they're you. Does that happen? All the time. Is that dangerous? If Johnny thinks he's talking to Billy, hey, I forgot, what time were we meeting this weekend? Oh, so-and-so, where were we going again? Man, I forgot everything. Over at so-and-so's house, remember? Because his parents are out of town. You just told a predator or a criminal where to go, where there's going to be a bunch of kids and no supervision around. That's how these people work, and it's not that hard to do. And nothing can be permanently erased. We need to remember that too. Once you hit that send button, you have lost control. You don't own that information anymore. You put it out there. Again, if I had cause, generally speaking, I could take any one of your cell phones, computers, tablets, give it to those same tech people. They're going to show me every picture you've ever sent or received, websites you visited. That information is all retrievable by someone. It can be made harder to get out. Anybody remember that case with Apple when I think it was the 6 came out? That terrorist connection, FBI was trying to get into that cell phone, and Apple said, nope, we're not doing it. I don't care, you got a search warrant, we're fighting this, yada, yada. We made this promise, and our stuff is impenetrable. Anybody remember what happened like a week or two later? A hacker contacted them and said, I can do it. And he did. There goes that whole theory, right? I mean, nothing is impenetrable, especially from a cell phone by a 12-year-old, okay? It's just not possible. We got to remember that. Sexting, this is the big issue right now, right? All the stuff we hear from the kids, obviously none of it's true. And this is the big thing. You can go to jail for it. Get rid of that. These kids can and have gotten charged criminally with this stuff. What's this a picture of? Raise your hand. Arnold Schwarzenegger voting. All right. Even the kids still know who Arnold is. That makes me feel good. How old do you got to be to vote? Go ahead, blurt it out. You don't have to raise your hand. Just go ahead and say it. 18. All right, now everybody's afraid to, right? All right, how about drive a car, unrestricted driver's license, no more parent permission, you can have anybody in the car, how old? Roughly 17 by the time you get your full unrestricted driver's license. How about this, what's this picture of? Tattoos, piercings, anybody know who this is? This is my brother. No, I'm just kidding. It's not my brother. How old do you got to be to just walk into a tattoo parlor? 18. Right. How about alcohol in Michigan? 21, right? It's not up here, but tobacco, whether it be the vaping, the e-cigarettes, any of that. How old? It's 18. They were trying to pass an ordinance in Genesee County to raise it to 21. That's being challenged right now. So generally speaking, it's 18. Now, there is no exception because I've had kids before, well, my mom said I could. Well, then your mom's getting charged with a crime too because she doesn't have that authority. Now, does every 18-year-old go out and get a face full of tattoos and piercings? No. Does every 21-year-old go get smashed every night? Well, maybe at first, but generally speaking, no, right? Does every 18-year-old start smoking and chewing tobacco? No. Just because you can doesn't mean you should, right? I mean, there's lots of things in life that way. Just because you can doesn't mean you should. And that's where I lead into the next when I'm talking to your kids. Does anybody know, do you guys know the answer to this? 16, anybody think any different? Okay, anybody think any different? I told my daughter it's 45. She still believes me, so we're going to let that one lie. It's 16. I tell this to the kids because it's the law. Do our kids have a right to know what the law is? Absolutely. We can't follow the law unless we know what the law is, right? It's only fair that we educate them on what the law is. Now, with that being said, like everything else, does that mean every 16-year-old should be going out and having a sexual relationship? No. Just because you can doesn't mean you should, right? Now, what's the minimum age to appear in pornographic material? 18? Anybody think any different? It's 18. Now, you see there's a 2-year discrepancy there, right? Where I think this is why I think this is important for our kids, for them to know what the laws are. Because if you are under the age of 18, which probably 90% of high school kids are under the age of 18, if you are under the age of 18 and you have an inappropriate photograph of yourself, you've created child pornography. That's the plain and simple answer. But our kids don't think of it like that, right? Our high schoolers are 15, 16, 17. That's not, child pornography is the 8 and 9-year-old kids, you know, that's nasty stuff. We're adults now. No, you're not. Even at the 16, well, if I can do this when I'm 16, then I can photograph it, right? No, you can't. And I even get the, well, I'm 15 and she's 15. We both agreed, so it's okay. No, it's not. You both just committed felonies. Are we looking to make kids felons for that? No. But we need to draw the line somewhere, and we have to let them know that. I've actually had a parent, well, they've been together for a little while, so I said it was okay. Mom got charged with felony. Mom doesn't have the ability to override laws. None of us do. That's the bottom line. You can't say that it's okay. Child sexually abusive material appears to include a child less than 18. Basically, those images, if the average person would see it as sexually abusive in nature, lacking artistic, political, you know, are we talking about our 6-month-old with the bare butt picture? No. But if the average person would see it as sexually abusive or offensive, it's probably against the law. Do you know who the average person is? General standard? Grandma. Grandma thinks everything's nasty, don't she? I know mine does. But it's true. That is the average person's standard. It's not what the average kid thinks is acceptable. That's not what the standard is. And these kids don't understand that. To include any of these could be considered criminal. Even simulated, passive, pretending, anything that is designed to make it look like they're doing this, that's criminal in nature. It's against the law. It violates the statute. Now, this is the big thing. To persuade, engage, fund, or produce. Persuading can be as simple as, and let's say it like it is, does it go both ways? Guys, girls, guys? Yes. Generally speaking, what do statistics tell us? It's the guys begging and asking for these pictures. They're persuading. Okay? It's our young ladies who are giving in. They want to be popular. They want to be liked. They want to be cool. So they send these, oh, he's my boyfriend. I love him. Make no mistake, and I tell the girls, as a boy, I can say this, if your young ladies are sending inappropriate pictures of themselves to a boy, he is showing everyone he knows. It's no fun to have it if I can't brag about it, right? We don't go out and get, I'll use a different name because we're all older. I don't go out and get Michael Jordan's autograph on a basketball and hide it in the basement, do I? I bring it out and I'm showing it. Look what I got. I'd say LeBron James to the kids because I don't even know if they know who Michael Jordan is, but I'm not a LeBron fan, but they all seem to like him. But you get the point, right? I mean, it's just the way it is. This is all, if you're under the age of 18, it's child pornography. To photograph it, video it in any way, shape, or form, it's child pornography. Well, we're going to get to how bad of a felony it is, okay? What these kids are doing, they don't even understand the seriousness involved. And I hear a lot, it's usually a boyfriend-girlfriend relationship. Oh, he's my boyfriend. He wouldn't do that to me. Until you break up and he wants to get back at you. That's how it generally works. You guys familiar? I'm sure most of you have heard the term human trafficking. All this online stuff. What happens when some of these pictures get out? We had and there's some cases in here, but I'm going to tell you one real quick. We had and this was on the Kick page, 15-year-old girl thought she was talking to another 15, 16-year-old boy, sending him all these inappropriate photos, videos. Turned out this was a 57-year-old man on the other line who now is blackmailing her. Hey, if you don't keep sending these, you're going to meet me here. You're going to do whatever I tell you to with me and my friends, or I'm going to expose you. Is this 15-year-old scared now? She thinks she's going to get in trouble? She's trapped? That's how a lot of our kids are getting lured into the human trafficking. Just statistically speaking, everybody thinks, they're kidnapping our kids. And people will say, there's no child abduction. That's not how it works, guys. Less than 3% of human trafficking victims are actually kidnapped. The other 97% are sold or tricked into it by family and friends. Online is the biggest way that this is done. This is how they're advertising. This is how they're selling. That's what these kids don't realize. Those pictures get into the wrong hands. Now they're trapped. That's why it's such a serious issue. And, I'm 16. I use the example because it's kind of funny, but it puts it into perspective because kids think, that could happen to me. You wake up in the morning, you think it's going to be funny to take a picture of your butt in the shower and send it to all your buddies. I'm 16. That's a felony. That's child pornography. Guys, when you're begging for it, asking for it, you're persuading. Ladies, when they send it to, or when they take that picture, they're producing it. They just committed a 20-year felony under the law. And I'm 16, I'm being funny. I didn't take just one, I took 10. That's 20 years each. That's not per incident, that's per photograph. That's the seriousness of it. I'm sorry. And I'm not saying this, but by definition, ignorance is no excuse to the law. It is their duty to know. Should a kid know that they shouldn't be taking naked pictures of themselves and sending it to somebody? Because I've had that argument from, what if we didn't know? If you didn't know, then why are you hiding it? We know there are consequences. They should know that they might not know this, which is why we're in here to tell them this. Now, realistically speaking, is this what's going to happen to them? Probably not. But it is. Do you want to roll the dice on that? I don't. Oh, we do. We do. And it doesn't stop there. This young lady has taken the picture. She's produced it. She sent it to her boyfriend. She's now distributed it. That's another 7 years. We're up to 27 years for that one picture. Obviously, you took it, you sent it, you're in possession of it. That's just a tack on another 4. 31 years worth of felonies for that one photograph is what you could potentially be charged with. This is usually, you guys just like the kids, the room goes pretty quiet. Because it just got real, didn't it? I like to come up here, make it a little bit looser environment with you guys. I don't want to preach to you, but this is serious stuff, isn't it? And it should be taken seriously. And students are being charged. I'm not going to get into specifics, but again, are we trying to turn them into lifelong criminals, sex offenders? No. But we have to draw a line somewhere, and there has to be consequences for actions. Michigan Sex Offender Registry, this is how it works. Michigan has one of the toughest sex offender registries in the country. Tier 1, yearly registration for 15 years for capturing image of an unclothed person under 18. That's what these kids could potentially be stuck with. Tier 2, biannual registry, meaning they have to report twice a year for 25 years for producing or distributing sexually abusive material or trying to get them to do that. You guys familiar with the sex offender registry? You know, you can go on there, you can type in an address and it'll show you everyone in the vicinity. What a lot of people don't realize, and what I explain to the kids, they don't like living with rules at home. When you're a sex offender, basically, in the state of Michigan, the state police own you for that 25 years. You can't do anything without us telling you that you can. You technically can't even, if this is your listed residence and you stay somewhere else for 2 consecutive nights, you violated the sex offender registry unless you got our permission to do so. You've committed another 5-year felony, you're going back to prison. I was on one of the teams before that's all we did is checked up on sex offenders and violated them left and right. In my opinion, they should still be in prison. It's their benefit that they're out on the streets. You better be able to follow the rules or I'm sending you back. I don't want them around my kids, do you? When we all think sexual predators or sex offenders, we all think that dirty pervert, right? Do you want your kids listed right up there with them? Having everybody assume that that's what they are too? Because, you know, let's be honest. I asked the kids, do you want to be a registered sex offender, considered a criminal for the rest of your life because you got a picture of a 16-year-old girl's boobs in high school? We have the internet, guys. Can't you pretty much see whatever you want anyway? I know that sounds funny, but isn't it true? Is it that important to risk your whole life over it? I don't think so. A couple of case studies. This girl is 15. This was one of these. She sent pictures of herself to a 27-year-old man that she did not know was 27 years old at the time. Nothing bad like that happened, but it could have, couldn't it? This one here, Philip. Boyfriend-girlfriend relationships. I try to explain these to the kids. Generally speaking, it happened some when we were growing up, when we were going through high school. But I will tell the kids, your boyfriend-girlfriend right now, I almost guarantee you is not the person you're going to spend the rest of your life with. They swear it is, though, don't they? But it's not. Let's be honest, it's not. Things don't work that way anymore. It could, with rare exception, but it generally doesn't happen anymore. So you're doing this with this boy. A year later, you're sending him out to another. Sooner or later, aren't you risking leaks? I mean, this stuff getting out there? Sure you are. This guy here, this is what happened. This guy here, he's 18, had inappropriate photographs of his girlfriend. After 2.5 years, she breaks up with him. He's mad. He sent the photographs and the videos to her family, her friends, just to embarrass and humiliate her. Well, Albert is the first to admit it was a stupid thing I did. I was tired. It was the middle of the night. I was upset. I was angry. I was an immature kid. He's now a registered sex offender, listed right up there next with the people who rape and molest kids. Was it worth it? Albert's telling you, no, it wasn't. This is the one I always wrap up with. This is kind of what brings everything together. Jessie Logan was her name. Normal high school student, has a boyfriend in high school. She breaks up with him. He's mad. Now, he took it actually a step further. Imagine when you're walking in here today, and I'll put it out to you ladies, as you're walking in, there's naked pictures of you, physical copies posted all along the walls, all along the front of this stage when you walk in. You walk down the hallways of the schools and you see that. That's what this kid did. Think that destroyed her? Absolutely it did, right? Now she's a whore, she's a tramp, she's a slut, made fun of by all the other kids. And Barrett, would you want to come back to school? I wouldn't. Who would? So she starts ditching class. Parents actually moved her across the country. We have to get her out of this situation, right? Did it stop? Would it have when we were growing up? Yeah. No one in California would have known what happened in Michigan, right? She'd have just been another new kid. But thanks to social media, those kids knew what was going on before she got there. She actually went on the news, tell her story. They blocked out her face or blurred it, disguised her voice, and she's telling the story, exactly what happened, pleading with other kids not to do this. 2 months after that news story, she committed suicide. She hung herself. This is happening at almost record numbers right now. From the bullying, the harassment. I mean, this just sort of ties everything in together, right? the sexting, the bullying, the harassment, I mean, everything into one. Our kids are dying over this. Could he be charged with a crime? He could be charged with her murder. I don't know what happened in this one. You guys remember, it was a pretty big deal right now with that whole carbon monoxide. The girl knew the boy, texting back and forth, and he ended up killing himself. Do you remember what happened to her? She got convicted of being responsible for his death. That's what our kids don't understand either. You know, you're doing this bullying and they go out and do something to themselves, you just ruined your life. Law consequences aside, could any of you live with the fact of knowing that you killed someone? Most normal people can't. And even for this young lady, do you know how bad things have to be? Self-preservation is a human's greatest instinct. Do you know how bad things have to be for you to feel that death is a better option? Somebody lost a daughter, a sister, a granddaughter, a friend, a cousin. We don't think about stuff like that. You know, in our kids today, and I'm not telling anybody how to parent or not to parent, but I've talked to parents, do you check your kid's cell phone? Well, no, I don't want to invade their privacy. How many of you had privacy when you were 13? I could be reading something, my dad would swipe, what do you got? Did I even question him? No. Your kids don't. It's your job to make sure they're not doing things that they shouldn't be doing. All these social media sites. Oh, I do. I do. It's, well, if your kid's under 18, you're paying the bill, right? That is not their property. That is your property. Even as far as the school goes, and I usually let them know that, you all signed an agreement to the school rules before you started school, right? You and the kids did. One of the rules is if they have their phone out, it can be confiscated. And I've heard, that's my property, you can't take it. Wrong. Most of these kids get caught because they're doing something they shouldn't be. The administrator takes it and it's right there. Now they're obligated. They have to call us. And once I have that phone, I get a search warrant, I do a phone dump, I'm going to see everything. That's how a lot of these things get caught, is now from this phone I see where it went. Then I take that phone, I see where it went from there. You get hundreds of people involved. That's what these kids need to understand. My daughter, I'll be honest, at any given time, she has a pass lock on her phone. I have the code. She has all these different social media accounts. I have the passwords. I check her phone on a regular basis. So does her mom. We're not together, but we're on the same page as far as that goes. My daughter doesn't even question it. And I don't tell her, every Friday I'm going to check your phone, because what are they going to do? They're going to delete everything before every Friday, right? There's secret things in there. One of them that's real big right now is it looks like a calculator app. But you punch a passcode into the calculator and it opens up to your nasty file, I call it. It's all their hidden stuff. Even just letting your kids know that you know about stuff like that gets into their head, and they don't know what you know and what you don't know. Check the phone. How many new apps were installed recently? Do some research on that app, because you can find that list. It'll show you what was installed recently. You can find that. Do some research on that. See what it is. Make them open it if you're questioning it or whatever. The mere thought or threat, if you will, of your kids knowing you will do that is a big deterrent in and of itself, isn't it? You know, when I was growing up, there was a lot of things I didn't do just knowing what my dad would do to me if I did them. I had a healthy fear of my father. I still do. And they say every boy goes to that stage where to reach a certain age, he knows he can take them. My dad's had 2 hips and 2 knees replaced, and I'm thinking, maybe next year. Not yet. I'm still not there. I don't think I ever will be. But I just don't have that mentality either. Probably most of you don't either. I mean, it's not a thought in your head. These kids today, we need to reinstall that into them, that some of this stuff, we're only doing it for their own good. I look back, I was in trouble a lot in school. Not, the illegal kind, but doing stupid stuff, which we all did, right? I look back now, I can't thank my parents enough for saving me from really getting into some trouble and really doing something stupid. Our kids, unfortunately, and I'm not knocking them, we've done it to them. We gave them this and didn't give them any instructions on it. They need some guidance. They need some help with this stuff because they're getting themselves into trouble. They're getting themselves charged with crimes. They're getting themselves into situations that they can't see their way out of. You need to have open, candid conversations with your kids and let them know, if something happens, it's okay to talk to you about it. One of the questions that gets raised is, what if somebody sends me something and I didn't want it? Is that possible? Sure it is. Delete it and tell somebody. Because when that investigation goes on and I say, well, I see you received this picture. Yeah, but I deleted it after 6 months. Does that convince me as an investigator that you didn't want it? Now, hey, I see you got this picture, but I deleted it. Yeah, she deleted it 10 seconds later. Now even if you didn't tell anyone, now is it pretty easy for me to believe that you didn't want that? Probably, right? Okay. Anybody have any questions about anything? Yeah, she was asking, the pictures is illegal. Does it also apply to the words? The sexual content words, not necessarily, but the threatening, the abusive, anything like that falls under all those statutes that we talked about before. The stalking is a real universal law, believe it or not. And most people, when we think of stalking, it's that peeper behind the window or following his ex-girlfriend around. What our kids don't even realize, too, when boyfriend, girlfriend break up, what generally happens nowadays? They're blowing up their phone, right? Please talk to me, please talk to me. By definition, they're stalking. Please talk to me, leave me alone. I'm not going to stop until you talk to me, leave me alone. By that third one, they've just committed a crime now. But kids don't believe that that's true. Oh no, I'm just trying to talk to her. No means no in every aspect of it. It doesn't matter whether it's online, whether it's on texting, whether it's in person, whether it's writing, whether it's sexual advances. When somebody says, leave me alone, you have to leave them alone. Even the bullying, physical contact, the people we grew up, you smack them on the back of the head or something. What do we call that today? Assault. You putting your hands on somebody they don't want you to, that's a crime. That's it. All right. Thank you guys for coming. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Trooper.